Chapter 6. A New Fancy of an Idle Man. "Are you feeling ill?" asked Velchaninov in alarm. "I will tell them to stop. I'll tell them to bring water." She turned her eyes upon him and looked at him passionately, reproachfully. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, sharply and abruptly. "It's a very nice family, Lisa. They're in a delightful summer villa now. There are a lot of children. They'll love you. They are kind. Don't be angry with me, Lisa. I only wish for your good." How strange it would have seemed to all who knew him if anyone could have seen him at that moment. How horrid you are!" said Lisa, choking with stifled tears, glaring at him with her beautiful eyes full of anger. "Lisa, You are wicked! 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 Wicked!" She wrung her hands. Velchaninov was completely at a loss. "Lisa, darling, if you knew how despairing you make me." "Is it true that he will come tomorrow? Is it true?" she asked peremptorily. Yes, I'll bring him myself. I'll take him with me and bring him." "He'll deceive me," she whispered, looking down. "Doesn't he love you, Lisa?" "He doesn't love me." "Does he ill-treat you? Does he?" Lisa looked at him gloomily and was mute. She turned away from him again and sat with her eyes obstinately cast down. He began trying to coax her. He talked to her warmly. He was in a perfect fever. Lisa listened with mistrust and hostility, but she did listen. Her attention delighted him extremely. He even began explaining to her what was meant by a man's drinking. He told her that he loved her himself and would look after her father. Lisa lifted her eyes at last and looked at him intently. He began telling her how he used to know her mother, and he saw that what he told her interested her. Little by little, she began answering his questions, though cautiously and in monosyllables. She still stubbornly refused to answer his leading questions. She remained obstinately silent about everything to do with her relations with her father in the past. As he talked to her, Velchaninov took her hand in his as before and held it. She did not pull it away. The child was not silent all the time, however. She let out in her confused answers that she loved her father more than her mother, because he had always been fonder of her, and her mother had not cared so much for her. But that when her mother was dying, she had kissed her, and cried a great deal when everyone had gone out of the room and they were left alone. And that now she loved her more than anyone, more than anyone, more than anyone in the world, and every night she loved her more than anyone. But the child was certainly proud. Realizing that she had spoken too freely, she suddenly shrank into herself again, and glanced with positive hatred at Velchaninov, who had led her into saying so much. Towards the end of the journey, her hysterical agitation almost passed off, but she sank into brooding, and had the look of a wild creature, sullen and gloomily, resolutely stubborn. The fact that she was being taken to a strange family, in which she had never been before, seemed for the time being not to trouble her much. What tormented her was something else. Velchaninov saw that. He guessed that she was ashamed before him, that she was ashamed of her father's having so easily let her go with him, of his having, as it were, flung her into his keeping. She is ill, he thought, perhaps very ill. She's been worried to death. Oh, the drunken, abject beast! I understand him now. He urged on the driver. He rested his hopes on the country, the fresh air, the garden, the children, and the new, unfamiliar life, and then, later on. But of what would come afterwards he had no doubts at all. Of the future he had the fullest, brightest hopes. One thing only he knew for certain, that he had never before felt what he was experiencing now, and that it would never leave him all his life. Here was an object. Here was life, he thought triumphantly. A great many thoughts flashed upon his mind, but he did not dwell upon them and obstinately put away details. So long as he avoided details, it all seemed clear and unassailable. His plan of action was self-evident. It will be possible to work upon that wretch, he mused, by our united forces, and he will leave Lisa in Petersburg at the Pogoryeltsevs, though at first only temporarily, for a certain time, and will go away alone, and Lisa will be left to me. That's the whole thing. What more do I want? And, of course, he wants that himself. Or else why does he torment her? At last they arrived. The Pogoryeltsevs' country home really was a charming place. They were met first of all by a noisy crowd of children, flocking out into the porch. Velchaninov had not been there for a long time, and the children were in a frenzy of delight. They were fond of him. The elder ones shouted to him at once, before he got out of the carriage. "And how about the case? How is your case getting on?" The cry was caught up even by the smallest, and they shrieked it mirthfully in imitation of their elders. They used to tease him about the lawsuit. But, seeing Lisa, they surrounded her at once and began scrutinizing her with intent, dumb, childish curiosity. Klavdia Petrovna came out, followed by her husband. She and her husband, too, began with a laughing question about the lawsuit. Klavdia Petrovna was a lady about 37, a plump and still good-looking brunette, with a fresh, rosy face. Her husband was 55, a shrewd and clever man, but above everything good-natured. Their house was in the fullest sense of the word a home to Velchaninov, as he had said himself. But underlying this was the special circumstance that, 20 years before, Klavdia Petrovna had been on the point of marrying Velchaninov, then a student, hardly more than a boy. It was a case of first love, ardent, ridiculous, and splendid. It had ended, however, in her marrying Pogoryeltsev. 5 years later they had met again, and it had all ended in a quiet, serene friendship. A certain warmth, a peculiar glow suffusing their relations, had remained forever. All was pure and irreproachable in Velchaninov's memories of this friendship, and it was the dearer to him for being perhaps the solitary case in which this was so. Here in this family he was simple, unaffected, and kind. He used to fondle the children. He admitted all his failings, confessed his shortcomings, and never gave himself airs. He swore more than once to the Pogoryeltsevs that he should before long give up the world, come and live with them, and never leave them again. In his heart he thought of this project seriously. He told them all that was necessary about Lisa in some detail, but a mere request from him was enough, without any special explanations. Klavdia Petrovna kissed the orphan, and promised for her part to do everything. The children took possession of Lisa and carried her off to play in the garden. After half an hour of lively conversation, Velchaninov got up and began saying goodbye. He was so impatient that everyone noticed it. They were all astonished. He had not been to see them for 3 weeks, and now he was going in half an hour. He laughed and pledged himself to come next day. They remarked that he seemed to be in a state of great excitement. He suddenly took Klavdia Petrovna's hand and, on the pretext of having forgotten to tell her something important, drew her aside into another room. "Do you remember what I told you? You alone. What even your husband does not know. Of my year at T." "I remember perfectly. You often talked of it." "It was not talking. It was a confession. To you alone. To you alone." "I never told you the surname of that woman. She was the wife of this man Trusotsky. She is dead, and Lisa is her daughter. My daughter.
Is it certain? You are not mistaken? Klavdia Petrovna asked with some excitement.
It's perfectly certain. Perfectly certain. I am not mistaken, Velchaninov pronounced ecstatically. And as briefly as he could, in haste and great excitement, he told her everything. Klavdia Petrovna already knew the whole story, but not the lady's name. Velchaninov had always been so alarmed at the very idea that anyone who knew him might ever meet Madame Trusotsky and think that he could so have loved that woman, that he had not till that day dared to reveal that woman's name, even to Klavdia Petrovna, his one friend.
And the father knows nothing?
Asked Klavdia Petrovna, when she had heard his story. Yes, he does know. It worries me that I've not got to the bottom of it yet, Velchaninov went on eagerly. He knows. He knows. I noticed it today and yesterday. But I must know how much he knows. That's why I'm in a hurry now. He is coming to me this evening. I can't imagine, though, how he can have found out. Found out everything, I mean. He knows about Bagautov, there's no doubt of that. But about me? You know how clever women are in reassuring their husbands in such cases. If an angel came down from heaven, the husband would not believe him, but he would believe his wife. Don't shake your head and don't blame me. I blame myself, and have blamed myself for the whole affair, long ago, long ago. You see, I was so certain he knew when I was there this morning that I compromised myself before him. Would you believe it? I felt so wretched and ashamed at having met him so rudely yesterday. I will tell you all about it fully afterwards. He came to me yesterday from an irresistible, malicious desire to let me know that he knew of the wrong done him, and knew who had done it. That was the whole reason of his stupid visit when he was drunk. But that was so natural on his part. He simply came to work off his resentment. I was altogether too hasty with him this morning and yesterday. Careless. Stupid. I betrayed myself to him. Why did he turn up at a moment when I was upset? I tell you, he's even been tormenting Lisa. Tormenting the child. And probably that, too, was to work off his resentment. To vent his malice, if only on the child. Yes, he is spiteful. Insignificant as he is, yet he is spiteful. Very much so, indeed. In himself he is no more than a buffoon, though, God knows, in old days he seemed to be a very decent fellow within his limits. It's so natural that he should be going to the dogs. One must look at it from a Christian point of view. And you know, my dear, my best of friends, I want to be utterly different to him. I want to be kind to him. That would be really a good deed on my part. For, you know, after all, I have wronged him. Listen, you know there's something else I must tell you. On one occasion in T, I was in want of 4,000 rubles, and he lent me the money on the spot, with no security, and showed genuine pleasure at being of use to me. And, do you know, I took it then. I took it from his hands. I borrowed money from him, do you understand? As a friend.
Only be more careful, Klavdia Petrovna anxiously observed in response to all this. And what a state of ecstasy you're in. I feel uneasy about you. Of course, Lisa will be like a child of my own now. But there's so much still to be settled. The great thing is that you must be more circumspect. You absolutely must be more circumspect when you are happy, or so ecstatic. You're too generous when you are happy, she added, with a smile. They all came out to see Velchaninov off. The children, who had been playing with Lisa in the garden, brought her with them. They seemed to look at her with more amazement now than at first. Lisa was overcome with shyness when, at parting, Velchaninov kissed her before them all, and warmly repeated his promise to come next day with her father. To the last minute she was silent, and did not look at him. But then, suddenly,
She clutched at his arm and drew him aside, fixing an imploring look on him. She wanted to tell him something. He promptly took her away into another room. "What is it, Lisa?" he asked her tenderly and reassuringly. But she, still looking about her apprehensively, drew him into the furthest corner. She wanted to be hidden from them all. "What is it, Lisa? What's the matter?" She was dumb. She could not bring herself to speak. She gazed fixedly with her blue eyes into his face, and every feature of her little face expressed nothing but frantic terror.
"He'll hang himself,"
she whispered, as though in delirium. "Who will hang himself?" asked Velchaninov in dismay.
He tried to hang himself with a cord in the night," the child said breathlessly. "I saw him. He tried to hang himself with a cord. He told me so. He told me so. He meant to before. He always meant to. I saw him in the night."
"Impossible," whispered Velchaninov in amazement. She suddenly fell to kissing his hands. She cried, almost choking with sobs, begged and besought him, but he could make nothing of her hysterical whisperings. And the tortured face of that terror-stricken child who looked to him as her last hope remained printed on his memory forever, haunting him awake and visiting his dreams. And can she really love him so much? He thought, jealously and enviously, as with feverish impatience he returned to town. She had told him herself that morning that she loved her mother more. Perhaps she hated him, and did not love him at all. And what did that mean? He will hang himself. What did she mean by that? Would the fool hang himself? He must find out. He must certainly find out. He must get to the bottom of it as soon as possible, once and for all.